Hi guys, it's Rob from sonicstate here. Today we are looking at the new orange CR60C, which is a 1x12 combo with the new orange crush kind of head inside. Now, this is modeled on a Reverb, so it has, according to Adrian, who I spoke to at MusikMesse earlier this year, it is exactly the same circuitry that's in a Reverb 50, but with op amps instead of valves. So basically, you're not being charged for the valves. You're getting an entirely analog, it's not modeling, it's analog. It does have a digital reverb section, but that's fine because it's reverb and it does give you a bit more versatility than just having a spring reverb at the bottom. I'm now going to take you through a couple of its features. So it's a twin channel amp with an EQ on the clean stage. I use a Rocker 30. It doesn't have an EQ on the clean sound. It just has volume, which is kind of useless, but fine, I've made it work for me. Here you get bass and treble. There's no mid, but just bass and treble and a volume. On the dirty channel, you've got gain, which is pre-gain, that's important, bass, middle, treble, and then you've also got volume. So you can get power stage distortion as well as pre-gain distortion. So it's a 4-stage gain system, and you've got a master volume. So what that means is, if I put it simply, if we turn the pre-gain right down, and the volume on the distortion on the crunch channel up, I can then control the overall volume there. So it gives you a lot of versatility. You can make loads, I mean, you can go all the way from, okay, let's just do this really quickly. Reverb on a little bit, humbucker on. Let's just push the gain too far, take the middle right out. Let's just do like that cliched scoop middle, boosted. But then at the same time, with the same amp, just by tweaking the settings, you can get that kind of old school. You can get loads of variation out of it. Clean channel. Again, you've got a volume here and you've got a volume here. So you can push that right the way up. And I think, if I'm right, just hear it starting to crack. Bear in mind I'm using very weak single coil, so if I use a slightly more powerful one. Remember, that's the clean channel, that's just the volume all the way up. You back it off, turn the main volume up. And again, bass and EQ, bass and treble. So I've found that on this guitar with this setup, I've got to have the treble right the way up. I'm not sure what it sounds like if I just back it off. It probably goes a little bit muddy. But you can get so many features, so many different you can get such a range out of this thing. On the back underneath, there is an effects loop, which the Rocker 30 doesn't have, the Reverb does have. You've also got a separate speaker output, so you can run it into a bigger cab if you need to. These are running Voice of the World speakers, 60 watt, 16 ohms. And you've also got foot switch for channel and turning the reverb on and off. The reverb itself, you have 3 settings because it's digital. You get 3 settings. So you get, let's start at the top, you get plate reverb. I'll put it up fairly high so you can hear it quite clearly. So this is the plate reverb setting at about 3/4 of the way around. Okay, same place, but with hall reverb. I love this, it's just stupidly big and massive. It's like proper 80s. And then you've got spring, just to give you that. You put it on Hall with loads of it on, chuck it on the gain channel. You can make it sound stupid in 80s, which is great, but you can also use it for sensible things like whatever sensible guitarists do, I don't really know. The biggest problem that I have with it is that it's the same circuitry as a Reverb 50, but it doesn't use valves, it uses op amps, which means this costs £349. A Reverb 50 Mark 1, 1x12, it's about 1,450 quid. That means that Orange is saying that the valves that they put in that, along with the output transformer, and I understand that there is a slight difference, but they're putting about £1,100 on the fact that that one has valves in and this one doesn't. The thing with this is that when you turn it on, it's not valve. So as soon as you turn it on, it sounds like it's going to sound in an hour and a half, in 2 hours of playing. My Rocker 30, you turn it on, it sounds all right. After an hour of being in the studio or in the practice room, it's starting to sound really nice. And after 2 hours, it sounds brilliant because the valves have warmed up, they've saturated more. That isn't going to happen on this. That's a pro and a con. If you like the initial sound of this thing, then that's great. That's going to be exactly what you want. If it's not the right sound, it's not going to get any better unless you tweak settings, unless you play with the EQs and play with the gain stages and all that kind of stuff, which you can do for hours on end. But it's just not got that thing that Orange tube amps have. But for 350 quid, you could have this. You could have a Marshall MA100, which is, yes, it's valve, but it's budget valve. And what Orange said was, why bother releasing something with valve if it's budget? It's still going to sound like crap. It's not going to sound great. Why not make a decent amp with op amps? And this thing does sound great. I mean, you've heard some of its settings. I could play this thing for hours and it'd be great. And you can turn it right down, which means you don't have to piss off the neighbors. You can also turn it right up. This is a 60 watt version. There is a 120 watt 2x12 and there is a 120 watt head. Again, all with the same features, same reverb, same switching, same everything. This to me is the most useful because you can use it at home, in the studio, or at a gig. There's no, I wouldn't, a 2x12, yeah, okay, it's going to sound a bit bigger, it's going to have a bit more bottom end. They all use the same speakers, Voice of the World. But this to me is exactly the right size because 60 watts is great because you can be heard at a venue over the drummer, you can hear yourself in the monitor, you don't have to be monitored basically, you can hear yourself. And they're really solid. So for 350 quid, out of this you could have, there's a Vox VR series, or there's the Marshall Mag series. I'd have this, even though this isn't valve, I'd still have this. However, would I pay another 1,100 quid to go to the Reverb 50? If I had that kind of money, I probably would. Just because there's something about Orange valve amps that just sounds that little bit nicer. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again next time.